Good morning and welcome back to day 319 of our 365 days of Bible study. We are continuing to look at those parts of Scripture which are unique to St. Matthew himself. And today we have the story of the God and the earthquake, which accompanied the resurrection of Jesus. This is Matthew chapter 27, verse 62 to chapter 28, verse 7. So, on the next day, Saturday, the Sabbath, which comes after the preparation, the chief priests and the Pharisees convened a meeting with Pilate. They said, "Sir, we remember that whilst he was still alive, that deceiver, Jesus, said, 'After 3 days I will arise.' So, order the tomb to be secured until the 3rd day, in case his disciples come by night and steal him away and say to the people he's risen from the dead, and the last deception will be worse than the first." And Pilate said to them, "You've got a guard, go and make it as secure as you know how." So they went and made the tomb secure with the guard and sealed the stone. Then, once the Sabbath was over, towards sunrise on the Sunday, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary went to have a look at the tomb. They were taken by surprise by a severe earthquake. An angel from the Lord had descended from heaven and come near. He rolled the stone back and sat on it. He looked like lightning, and his clothes were white as snow. The guards were so scared of him they shook with fear and collapsed as if they were dead. But the angel said to the women, "Do not be afraid. I am aware that you are looking for Jesus who was crucified. He is not here. He has risen as he told you he would. Come in and have a look at the place where he was lying. Once you've done that, go as fast as you can, tell his disciples that he has risen from among the dead, and pay attention to this. He is going ahead of you to Galilee. You will meet him there. Now, I have told you all I have to say." So, there are details in this story that only come to us by way of Matthew. He alone has the chief priests and the Pharisees petitioning Pilate to put a guard on the tomb, and he alone has the earthquake and the angel descending to roll the stone away. To this, he adds a verse or two where the women actually meet Jesus on their way back to the disciples, and he says hello to them and reiterates that they will rendezvous later in Galilee. It seems to me that the story about the placing of the guard was included by Matthew to overcome accusations amongst those opposing his teaching, accusations that Jesus had not really risen, but that somehow his body had been stolen and concealed somewhere else. So the story has been added to Mark's account, which otherwise Matthew copies carefully, in order to counter that accusation. Where Matthew would have got the information about the meeting with Pilate is not clear, nor is it clear how those at the meeting knew about Jesus' predictions of his death and resurrection. So a question mark rests over that part of the story. The other part of the story that is unique to Matthew is the earthquake and the conversation with the Lord's angel. Matthew does not mention, as Mark does, that the women intended to anoint Jesus' body, but he agrees that they set off as early as the daylight allowed to visit the tomb. And here Matthew dramatizes the events more than any other gospel writer. What actually happened may well have been as quiet and loving as John's account described, or as spooky as Mark's account, but to all of them, this was a new start on a new pathway for them all. The world would not ever be the same again, so they all play it up in their different ways in order to emphasize its world-shattering and mind-blowing significance. We return almost immediately to normality now, as the women set off to tell the disciples. And almost matter-of-factly, they meet Jesus on the way. Matthew says, Look what happened next. Jesus met them and said hello to them. They came over and took hold of his feet and worshipped him. Then Jesus said, "There's nothing to be afraid of. Go and let my brothers know that they should go to Galilee, where they will meet me." Matthew places the resurrection firmly in a Jewish mindset, with angels descending and earthquakes, which befits what he believed as a Christian to have been a world-changing event. But tomorrow, another unique addition from Matthew to the resurrection story: the allegation that the temple clergy bribed the guards to spread lies about what happened. I'll see you tomorrow.